Good morning, good morning. How's everyone doing? It's a beautiful Friday, as you can see. The sun is out. It's the beach is already full with people, a lot of fishermen, but some holiday goers as well. People just taking out some time in the morning before we get started. If it's like this at 5 a.m., I can only imagine what the day is going to be like today. It's going to be a scorch off a day. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this week was tough. I increased my daily mileage. So just getting that strength back up after yesterday, I had to eat some carbs and just get the energy back up into my body. So feeling a lot stronger today. And let's see if we can finish this week strong. So I thought today perhaps I could just reflect a little bit upon the stories that I've been sharing this week and some of the major lessons that I've picked up. But these lessons are going to be from my own life and from my perspective, but also looking at my family as well, right? Because my family has been involved in a number of projects as well. So, you learn a lot from observing others. And sometimes you repeat those mistakes that they made, and sometimes you learn from them and, you're able to implement them and grow. So, yeah, I think today's focus will be mindset, right? Let's talk a lot about mindset because at the end of the day, as you probably know, your mindset is going to be the biggest factor in your ability to see your goals through to the very end, right? Um, so starting with, I think the biggest one for me is personally growing up, there was this underdog mentality coming from the bottom, going up to the top. And, whenever you watch a movie, you're always relating with the underdog. And, I also played rugby, I support rugby, and you can see the different mindsets. In South Africa, we have this underdog mentality, and so whenever we are on top, you can literally see that the team struggles to embody that and be the favorites. That has been changing over the last few years, but that has been the case for many, many, many decades. If you look at New Zealand, for example, the All Blacks, they have a winner's mentality. For them, winning is a given. It's about how you win, right? And these are just mindsets that show you different teams, different cultures, different people. And so, having been an underdog mentality person myself, I relate heavily with the Springboks team. And, that's something that I had to learn that there's a bit of a shade to it, right? I think it's going to be easy for me to use the Springboks as an example. If you look at the Springboks, they had lots of opportunities over the last few years to have a winning streak and to bury their opponents and stuff like that. But a lot of times you found that if they won against New Zealand this week, they couldn't replicate it the following week because they were no longer underdogs. That mentality wasn't there, and that mentality is a big fuel, right? So what do I mean by that? I found that overcoming the odds of me just going to school because of a financial situation meant I had to hustle, I had to make money, I had to start businesses, I had to trade. And when I was doing that, I was fueled by this story of, okay, this is me coming up, this is me doing this, right? But unfortunately, what I found was when that drive disappears and things are a little bit better. So in my family, we had periods of things being really, really good, and there were periods where things were really, really bad. When things were really, really good, you don't have that drive as much anymore, right? You get distracted, you lose focus, and that kind of thing. And that's where you end up having these yo-yo results, right? And if you look at what Rassi Erasmus has done with the team, but also the nation, to change the mindset from being underdogs to now saying we're the favorites, you can tell the team, the Springboks team, is now sort of embracing this winner's mentality because within the squad, they're competing for positions. So I've got to dominate in my position no matter what. We've got to win no matter what, right? And the supporters are still catching up to it. the Springboks right now are by far the biggest, baddest, best team. But if you listen to the supporters, they're the biggest victims, right? There's a mismatch between the mentality of Springbok supporters, which I'm one of, and the Springboks themselves. So they're sort of moving away from this underdog mentality, and you'll see people will find ways to be the underdogs as Springbok supporters, right? They will create narratives. The refs are only penalizing us. When you actually look at the cards given out to all teams, you find that the refs have been bad to every team. When the World Cup draw comes, they say, well, our pool is actually the pool of death, right? They find ways to be the victim, to be the underdog, right? And because the underdog story gives so much fuel, it's an archetype that has existed throughout history. But the challenge is if you embody the underdog, you're much more comfortable being less than, being the under, right? Not being the big dog. Because once you're the big dog, your movements have to change, your mentality has to change. If you're the big dog, you can't walk around trying to bully people, trying to flaunt your wealth, trying to flaunt your success, trying to flaunt your strength. You're now in the business of obfuscating and minimizing your strengths and sort of lowering yourself to appear a little bit weaker than you actually are, right? And we see this mentality in our lives every day. People who don't have money are always working really hard to show their wealth and to make it seem like they have more than they should. And I would argue, it is what you're supposed to do. And people who have extreme wealth or a lot of wealth always downplaying things to try and hide their wealth. Because once you start making money, you can't flaunt it because people will come and steal. You'll distort the relationships and the interactions you have with people because of whatever it is that you have. So, you gotta just assimilate, right? So when we latch onto these underdog stories, we're almost saying you're much more comfortable being at a certain level. Once you get above that, what are you fighting for? I was really, really good at fighting in terms of starting a business and trying to get things going, but I was not good at finishing it, right? Actually saying, okay, how do we execute and get it to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, right? And it's only when I started looking at the patterns going all the way back to high school, which is why I started sharing these stories, I started noticing these patterns and saying, wait, I'm really good at galvanizing myself and people around me to start a business and to get things going. I'm not necessarily a finisher, or I wasn't at that time. But in my job, in my work, I was able to finish. I was able to start things and finish, So it's not a lack of capacity. It might not be my strongest suit, but it's something that I'm actually good at, right? I have other strengths that are much more prominent than that, but it is still a strength that I do have. So the narrative that, oh, I'm good at starting things created a paradigm where I'm now saying I'm not good at finishing. So maybe I need to partner with somebody who can finish, right? But when you actually analyze, you say, oh, it's because of the stories that I'm married to, the underdog story that I sort of married to. And the underdog story is similar or related to the struggle mentality, right? And in Africa specifically, I'm pretty sure there's other places as well, but in Africa, this is so prevalent. If prayer and begging God and all of that was the key to success in life and the key to happiness, then African women should be the most successful and the happiest people on earth, right? Because when they struggle, they struggle. And sometimes when you watch these videos and you watch these sermons from these pastors, it's all about the struggle and how hard I did this and how you didn't see what I went through. And I begged God and I told God, I'm going to claim it. It's a lot. We are holding on to struggle. And this is how it affects us. When you hold on to struggle, you enter every interaction with a struggle mindset. I'm sure you've experienced this with somebody who comes in with a struggle mindset. Basically, they're coming to fight life, and you're trying to work with them, but it's difficult to work with such a person because they're fighting against life, and you're going to be collateral damage in their life, right? So if you I call it struggle porn, right? When you see some of these preachers and so forth, they glorify the struggle. The struggle has virtue. There's virtue in poverty, in struggle, in overcoming, and all of this. a lot of times in business, in life, happiness has a lot to do with grace, letting things go, right? Knowing you can't control these things, so it's okay. Learning to be happy in spite of, right? It's not about struggle and fighting through and overcoming and learning and growing. Learning and growing is good. You do that all the time. But it shouldn't be framed in the struggle mindset, right? That struggle mindset is a big one in Africa, because now you approach every opportunity that should be simple and easy for you to execute, but you bring so much baggage of struggle to this thing. And sometimes just do the thing and then move on with your life. But we bring so much struggle into spaces, right? And those are some of the things I also had to overcome within myself. When you started realizing, okay, things are actually good, better than I thought they were. And, I really started doing my finances and, being meticulous about my finances and saying, we're actually not as bad off as we thought we were, right? But how do you switch on the mentality of, I still want to grow, I still want to build, there's still a lot of things that I need to do, but I'm not struggling, right? Which brings me to the third one, the winner mindset, right? Sometimes wow, it's really hot, eh? Jesus Christ. So sometimes even people who have underdog mentalities, for a brief moment, for a specific project, for a specific situation, a specific environment, you enter this winner mindset, and everything you do, everything you touch turns to gold, everything you do works out. Every person you speak to is charmed. You know what I mean? Those situations, those moments, and you embody the winner mindset. And, for me, once I started seeing the struggle mindset and the underdog mentality in my life and sort of shifting away from it into a winner mindset, that period was quite difficult because you don't know how to move. It's not familiar in your body, right? How do you embody that I'm winning? Sometimes you want to show that you're winning, but you end up trying to hide that you're losing, right? And that's how you model showing that you're winning. But you don't need to show anybody that you're winning, right? You just need to have that mentality that I'm winning when I'm doing this. So if two people start a business, one comes in saying, oh, I'm struggling because I just need to feed my family. And the other one says, oh man, this is a game that I'm going to win at. It's going to be fun. I'm going to do some crazy things, and we're going to leave a mark on this earth, right? Those two people are going to have two different experiences, and over a long enough period, two wildly different outcomes, right? I put it this way. I remember when I was still working, I noticed there were two types of people that I would come across. People who have 10 years, one person has 10 years experience, but it's 1 year repeated 10 times, and other people have 10 years experience, and it's, sort of a growth of, every 18 months they're sort of shifting and growing and evolving and increasing their capacity, improving their skills, changing their mindset or adding to their mindset, right? And, so the winner mindset is an important one to embrace, to embody, to add to your arsenal. I think the underdog story and the underdog mentality is a beautiful thing. Know when to use it, right? So this comes to my next one, clarity. The next one is inner conflict, right? So inner conflict, we gotta resolve these different mentalities. If you are in a family setting and there's a specific thing going on, you might need to embrace the underdog story there. If you're with your friends, you might need to embrace the winner mindset, right? But if you're married to any one mindset, you are always struggling to adapt to a certain situation, right? Or to embody the right energy for that situation. Some situations are underdog stories, and it's an amazing, beautiful experience to go through this underdog story and triumph. You don't need to carry that for the rest of your life or to every other area of your life. You can then embody another one in a different space and have a winner's mindset. Some people do this naturally, where with this group of friends, they're embracing the winner mindset. With this group of people, they're embracing the struggle mindset. I particularly struggled with that. It took me a while to detach from it and I had to lose friends and people in my life to get to a place where I could see that in myself and sort of understand that, right? Because I was around people who had certain mindsets that I was trying to exit from. And I think the skill of like having this group of friends that are really close, that have a certain mindset, and you are evolving and remaining in contact with them, that's a tough one, right? Most people struggle with that, and I did. I was just changing my mindset, and it became difficult to sort of be around those people. But today, the people that I'm meeting, I can embody whatever needs to be, right? Because I know how to draw my boundaries. I know how to, I can read the room much better and sort of just be a platform for people to shine, right? So that inner conflict isn't there. So the challenge is, if you have inner conflict, it means you're attached to certain stories. And being attached to a story is okay, right? Which brings me to the next one, clarity, right? What is your clarity and what does that look like? Because having clarity at the end of the day is going to be the magic key for you to get what you want and find that happiness. So what am I talking about? I think clarity is trying to bring everything together, right? To say, be clear. Are you attached to the underdog story? And that's what you want to do right now. And if it changes, it changes. That's fine. Are you able to adapt? So are you malleable? Are you all things to all people, like Jesus said? And you don't have to fight with yourself, right? Pick and choose what is natural to you, right? And just say, okay, I'm an underdog, and I love being an underdog, and use that story. But also recognize that there's some situations where you gotta tone it down. There's some situations where, maybe you just gotta back off, so whatever it is, and just adapt to those situations. But having that clarity will help you to make those decisions and avoid that inner conflict. Because that inner conflict is the reason for these yo-yo results that you have. The moment you start winning, you're an underdog, you're struggling. If you're married to a winner mindset, people who are married to the winner mindset, some of the shadow side of that, or the dark side of that, is you're married to a winner mindset. The moment things start going bad, or you have to hunker down and struggle through, they're out, they quit, right? So every mindset has its pros and its cons. Underdog struggle sometimes is such great fuel. It is incredible. You'll move mountains with that mindset. The winner mindset, it means you're lighter, you move quicker, you move faster, you're much more. The reason you grow and expand better is, you attract more people to you, right? Shadow side. Underdogs and struggle mentality, you overcomplicate things that don't need to be overcomplicated. You struggle unnecessarily through things that you could just get through, right? The winners, they quit too easy the moment they have to struggle. So that's where the inner conflict comes. If you're too married to being a winner, too married to being an underdog, if you're having a struggle mindset, it's understanding what is right for each moment in what you're doing, and contextualizing yourself gives you that clarity. And that's an art, right? That's an art that I've been learning lately, and trying to add to my arsenal, right? So I know how to do struggle. I have a much better idea of how to be a winner than I used to, and I'm getting clarity on figuring out who I need to be in different situations. Now, switching it on and off is incredibly tough right now for me, right? So in my business, for example, I have to do marketing, I have to do sales, I have, just in meeting people when you're doing sales, and trying to assimilate a new person into your business, because I offer services, right? So I work with people. So each person has a different mindset, right? Some people are coming in and, when they're talking to their accountant, they think that their accountant is supposed to be this expert who knows everything, right? And no one knows your business besides you. They're there to help you. That's what professionals are there to do. It's like a lawyer. You know your case better than anybody. Your lawyer is there to help you. So you got to work with them. You got to give them the information they need, figure out what is the information they need, and give that to them, right? But people come in with their mindset. Some come in with you work for me now. Just because I'm paying you X amount, I own you, and you must do this, 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 this. some people come in and they think, oh, I've got an expert now, they're going to do everything. Oh, I can relax. And you chase after them, hey, can I get this? So now my job is trying to figure out each person, how they work, and how to get the most out of them. How do I get this person to give me the information that I need? Are they being cagey? Are they, or is it that they just don't understand? What is the situation going on? And sometimes you have to adapt yourself, right? And sometimes it's tricky. So it's easier with some people, and more difficult with others. But that's what I'm learning in sales and service, right? As I'm growing this business. Now, over time, we will have these these products standardized, and all our education and everything together, that when people come in, they understand that they're being trained into the business, right? Into the mindset. They are buying into the mindset and the frameworks and the structures that we have in place, and it becomes easier now to standardize across the board. But right now, as we're expanding and scaling the business, it's something that I'm learning and finding the most challenging right now, but it's the most enjoyable thing as well, right? I'm loving meeting different people. I can see people who are just starting in their business and they're so afraid of every little thing. I see people who are, making money and they're overconfident and they think everything is fine, and everything in between. And you just get to see people, understand people, which has been something that I've been enjoying quite a lot this year. And, it's helping me grow and become a better leader in my own business and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping that these stories and these lessons of my own journey are, useful to somebody out there, and that you find some value in it wherever you are in your journey, right? None of us are experts. All we can do is share what we are going through, and other people can sort of extract whatever lessons they can. Just like I watch other people and extract lessons from their journeys, right? I remember watching this debate on Diary of a CEO, and they were talking about, $50 clients want the world from you, and yet $50,000 clients understand, hey, they're paying you to do your thing, and the best thing they can do is get out of your way. Support you and giving you everything you need, but get out of the way. They become the easiest people to work with, and I'm finding that to be true. But right now, at least, I feel part of my job, as much as possible, which makes, if it makes business sense, is to help those people with mindsets, with frameworks. The $50 client who wants the world from you is missing something. And if I can just leave them with a little piece of information, a framework for them to understand and to contextualize themselves and see beyond the fear that's driving them, even if they don't do business with us, that's something that's going to last with them, right? It's just a little seed, and it might not blossom now, but I'm pretty sure it'll make a difference over time, right? Because a lot of these things, it's an idea that's sparked in you, and you get awareness to a thing, and you grow naturally. You don't have to be mechanical about it and say, I'm learning this like you're in school. It's just raising your awareness to certain things. So that's the goal here. It's been a great week. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. We'll see each other next week on Monday. Cheers, guys.